What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another F124 My Team Career Mode video. Today, round 7 of Season 2 around the Canadian GP circuit. It is an absolute belter. I'm not gonna lie. This was one of the races that I've had this season that I really enjoyed racing. So we're gonna kickstart with qualifying and then hop straight into the main Grand Prix. Now, turn 1, turn 2 looks like a nice line generally. A little bit of an oversteer moment on traction, exiting that second corner. Here, braking around the 75-meter board. Carry the speed as best you can and don't hit that wall on the right-hand side. Because in this game, if you brush the wall with your wheels, you will also kind of give yourself more tire wear, if that makes sense. Like, it damaged your tires, so it's like you've raced on them for a lot longer than you have. Nice entry into that fast chicane there, but is it going to be enough to get us anywhere near where we want to be in Q1? Obviously, we just have to be in the top 15, 16 cars to be able to make it through into Q2, which is obviously our aim. Lando Norris goes fastest with a 109.2, I believe it was. And yeah, just from this point on in the rest of the lap is just spot this last braking point, 100-meter board, turn it in nicely, cut the chicane as much as you can, and then wind open the wheel and put the power down up to the line of 109.3, which does set us about P4 and through into Q2. And now Q2 lap, do we do as well as the Q1 lap? That is the question. Not the best rotation in turn 2, but pretty decent exit. Not really getting the same over rotation as we did in Q1. Comparable in the second part of the first sector. Best to try and hook your left front over that entire curb, and just be careful on the throttle while changing up, because the gear changing in the F1 games can be good for rotation, but also can be bad if you don't want that rotation but you need to change up. So just got to be careful on that. And was that a lockup from that Kick Sauber just up ahead of us? I'm not too sure. I thought I saw some smoke, but overall pretty tidy lap so far. Can't really complain at all, but obviously we've got a much tighter top 10 this season than we did last season. I think the top 10's been covered by about 3/10 this whole season long. Is perfect cut of the chicane there and run up towards the line. Fernando Alonso 108.7, and we're there with a 109.2. So about 5/10 there between ourselves and the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso. But now onto Q3. Again, very tight in the top 10, so we've got to see what places we can make up. Obviously, this is one of our last runs. It's the last run, actually, out of anybody in Q3. Not the best turn in there, didn't really cut the chicane as much as we could have, but we're trying to be up on our time as best as possible. We're in P9 at the moment as Alonso improves to somewhere up the field. We have a purple sector 1 to our name, which is what we're looking for, but we're down after a bit of a shocking left-right complex before the first DRS zone. There, a little bit of oversteer mid-corner on that chicane as well. We're still not finding the time. Carlos Sainz goes top with a 108.5, and we're somehow still down on our time. We just need any amount of gain, but we get it at that hairpin, and now it's just all about the 50% battery we have left, the DRS, and the very final chicane and the wall of champions, which it might be foreshadowing, it might be not. Whether or not we hit this wall is another question. We don't quite hit the first apex, but we do pick up some time, and it's about 2.5 up on our previous time. But where does that put us on the starting grid? That is the question, as I flawlessly segue through. Not pole, Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris lock out the front row. Again, very close margins right at the front of the field. But Verstappen in third, followed by his teammate in fourth. Fernando Alonso and Charles Leclerc on the third row, followed by Lance Stroll and George Russell. Then ourselves in P9, Dennis Hauger in P10. You might be wondering how that happened, but Ocon, Ricciardo, Piastri, Magnussen and Gasly are the next 5, followed by Hülkenberg, Tsunoda, Albon, the missing Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton with a penalty, Théo Pourchaire, P20, Sargent and Zhou on the back row of the grid. So Hamilton with the penalty did promote us to P9, but we did qualify in P10.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I hope not to. Although I'm the owner, dude. Like, you don't let me down, you know? Obviously, I was playing with the strategy a lot as well as berating my race engineer. I was tempted to go hard medium, as we did in the previous race, but medium hard it is for us, and everybody in the top 10 seems to have gone for that. But all the lights are on. Now they're out as we go racing here in Canada. Okay start, not a great amount of wheel spin, but Lance Stroll gets absolutely obliterated by us, and we sneak it through to make it 3 wide with Fernando Alonso and Charles Leclerc around turn 2, trying to go the long way round. Do we have the traction? Do we have the battery? Yes, we have both. And we're up to P5 in 2 corners. Now we're just chasing down the Red Bull team up ahead of Verstappen and Perez in P3 and P4. And then Carlos Sainz, as we have a massive lunge on Sergio Perez, who absolutely did not need to leave us the space, but he did so. And that is possibly one of the reasons why in the real life F1 he is not a part of the team anymore. I'm trying to blame what happened to real life Checo on my team Checo, which is maybe not really right, as we have a little bit of a lock-up in the hairpin there, following Max Verstappen in a little bit there. But we've had an immense start. This is lap 2, by the way. You'll notice I try and hide the cuts as much as possible to give you a more seamless experience of the race, and the action is now into the final chicane. Verstappen looking a little bit slow in that Red Bull. I'm not sure if he's running with a bit of an issue at the moment, but fastest laps are coming all around. Perez with the fastest now, but we send it down the inside of the reigning world champ, and that job is done. And Sainz and Norris very on the edge of DRS for us, but they were side by side, so that slowed them down just enough for us to sneak in there. Obviously we're a little bit low on the battery, so DRS is exactly what we need right now, and so far these tyres are working really nicely for us. And I think with the track layout and how you can be quick around Canada, I think it doesn't suit the AI at all, but it suits us quite nicely. So just don't want to let anybody back through. We are still in this fight, as we have a bit of contact there with Carlos Sainz, and I might have called him Charles Leclerc before, but it's definitely Carlos Sainz in P2. And there's a yellow flag out. It looks like somebody's retiring towards the back of the grid. Looks like a Sauber. Potentially Nico Hulkenberg out of the race. No safety car needed from the look of it so far. The yellow flags are flying in that section. Norris is vulnerable without the DRS, as I was talking about yellow flags while Carlos Sainz made the move for the lead. And now, again, a little bit of a kiss. I do like kissing the rear of Carlos Sainz. Take it out of context. Now, we're in P2, which is perfect. Carlos Sainz can't get away from us. Surely not. There's 3 DRS zones around Canada, 2 activation points. As we go for a massive lunge, I was not expecting that. We'd given the room on the outside, but holy, that just shows you how powerful the DRS is. I think I only started to use it because I was going to be right on top of him anyway, and it's just the way of the world. Once you finish kissing their rear, you get right on top of them. But anyway, I really need to stop using this kind of language. I'm dirty-minded. That's, yeah, a history about me. There you go. But we are now at the lead of this train of cars that I think spans back towards P10 somewhere. Maybe not quite P10, but I think it ends with Charles Leclerc's Ferrari. So Carlos Sainz is looking to make a move around the outside at the hairpin, but we're going to say no thank you, as he potentially looking for a switchback. Not quite there, but he will have the DRS on us, and I don't think there's anything we can do. I've been running relatively high wings as well, so it's going to make it just too easy for the Ferrari to blast past, and there he goes into the final chicane, and there's not much we can do there other than sit in his slipstream, use a bit of the battery, try and keep Norris behind, and then fight for another day. Now, pit lap is around Pit lap is around lap 10, not P10. And yeah, we just want to stay in this P1 or P2 scenario. P1 is not ideal, you're just going to get overtaken by DRS. P2 is perfect, you can kind of control whether or not you're going to overtake or not, but it is so powerful that sometimes you're almost forced to overtake. And yeah, there's not a lot we can do other than try and save a bit of battery where we can. Our aim is to keep Norris behind, that's it. Stay in touch with Carlos Sainz. We have a lot of wheel spin there on exit of the hairpin, which sets us back a little bit, but I'm not worried because, again, we can use battery if we want to. We can also just fly up to the back of him with DRS as well, and that's not a problem at all. But we are coming towards the pit window, and I'm starting to think about the pit stop a lot, because we can either, as we go around the outside, Sainz leaves the door open, then massively overreacts on the entry to the corner. We somehow make a move for first place, and now Norris and Sainz are side by side, which is going to slow them down massively. I see an opportunity here to break the DRS, which has already happened in 2 corners as we go massively deep, which is really not going to help us if we want to keep those guys behind us out of DRS, but we've managed it. We're in P1. We've broken the DRS. Can we keep it broken, though? That's the question. We are running higher wings, so they're going to be quicker than us in the straight, regardless of DRS or not. So 3/10 to Sainz before he gets to DRS. I need a good bit of traction here on the exit. Pretty good. A little bit of minor wheel spin there, but overall decent. We have 0 battery. That's our next biggest problem. Carlos Sainz, see how much he's gaining down the straight. Look, he's already gained 2/10 basically on us in 1 straight, which is really not ideal. And again, thinking about the pit stops, do I maybe want to undercut those behind us, or risk that they take the position from me during the pit stop phase? Now, again, Sainz has the DRS again, so we're not really going to fight, I guess, too hard. But we are pit stop stage now. If I can keep Carlos Sainz on the right, I might be diving into the pits here. Not quite. Maybe waiting for next lap as I get that line completely wrong. But really didn't want to, well, destroy my car, preferably. But that should not be an excuse for cutting the track. Now, lap 10. Ooh, bit of over-rotation mid-corner there, which didn't sit too comfortably with me. Now we're kind of getting a bit of pressure from Lando Norris and the McLaren behind us, and potentially losing DRS? No, not really. There's not enough track for a mistake in turn 1, turn 2 to cost you DRS in the first DRS zone, and then there's basically no track in between the first DRS and the second DRS. There's 1 chicane, that's it, before the detection. And now Marcus said we're going to box this lap, so really thinking we have to either overtake Sainz right now and beat him in the pits and out of the pits, or hope that Sainz is going to go to change his tyres next lap and that we can undercut him by boxing on this lap. Now we've got the DRS. The pit entry line is the same as the racing line, so I bait Sainz into defending, I let him brake, and then I'm slamming on the anchors just to meet the speed limit of the pit lane. So it seems like Verstappen and Alonso and a few others have joined us in the pits, even Charles Leclerc as well, which is potentially why Sainz didn't box this lap. But now we have to hope for a good outlap to maximize our undercut on Carlos Sainz, but we also can't fight any of those that pitted with us too much, because we're going to lose the position to Sainz, if all of that makes sense. Now it looks like our teammate Pierre Gasly is right here in P10. He's not pitted yet, so he'll be pitting at the end of this lap. But we've got to hope we can either steal the DRS or really get past him quickly so that he doesn't hurt our progress in this lap and lose us the position, which would be horrendous, as he seems to be holding us up ever so slightly through that kind of left-right before the DRS. I really should learn some corner names or be able to count more than 3. But here we are, the times we live in. Gasly's going to give us DRS again, which is going to help us. Carlos Sainz won't have DRS at all. I'm very concerned, though, that we are not going to make the undercut work. Although we were slightly ahead of Sainz when we made it into the pits. So here we go. Are we going to do the same thing? Can we do the same thing? Do we just hold behind Gasly and hope he pits? Yes, we do. And thankfully he does pit. We almost make it into the Wall of Champions. but we somehow make it work. I think the wings are high enough that it wasn't as bad as it looked. Here comes everybody else out of the pit lane. Perez, Sainz, and Lance Stroll, I believe, as well, in that little gaggle of cars that were leaving the pit lane. They are slightly behind us at this point in time. So really, this undercut has worked. Piastri, don't worry about him. He's not pit yet. But we're in P1 of this race right now. Net P1. Once Piastri boxes, we're in the lead still. But we do still have a Red Bull, and it's Max Verstappen as well, directly behind us. He's going to have DRS, but does he have the same performance of the Ferrari? I'm not sure. He was very high up in the order on the starting grid. That makes me a little bit nervous, but we could potentially also stick with him. I'm not sure what the best course of action is here, but it doesn't look like I have a choice. Look at that rocket ship go. Holy. It looks like we're just going to have to try and stay with him and do our best to stick with the world champ at his own game of driving cars around. We're not within the DRS of Alonso either. So if we can stick really close to Verstappen, we can potentially break away from the pack behind us. That seems to be the plan, and it seems to be what is working quite well for us at the moment. But again, another little kiss on the rear. This time, it's not on Carlos Sainz, it's on Max Verstappen. Again, take it out of context. There's going to be a fan fiction written about this at some point. It's probably going to be me that writes it. But we go round the outside of Verstappen. We made him take such a shallow line. He had to back out of that. I don't know if that would have actually happened in real life Formula 1, but I think it would have been an airplane crash if one of us didn't back out, and it was not going to be me. Just the virtual world, my life is not at risk right now. The virtual life is, which may be a philosophical question. Is it worth something? But anyway, let's not get into that. Let's get into the video, because you might have noticed now we're on lap 24 or 25. We dropped Max Verstappen after we overtook him. That's how much he struggled with that corner. We broke DRS and we've just been plugging away endlessly. And now he is almost 2 seconds behind us. He's got Fernando Alonso for company, which is also holding him back from chasing us. And now we're on the final lap. So turn 1, turn 2, pretty good. We've got 100% battery. We are going to use it all this lap. Try and get the fastest lap again. A couple of bits of rotation, over rotation even, on some of those corners. A pretty nice line through here though, as we unleash the power, just stay barely on the track. Deploy all the battery. We don't need it. We do not need this battery at all. We're going to abuse it all the way to the checkered flag. And a nice bit of traction there as well. We've actually gained a bit of time against Verstappen and Alonso behind us. Purple sector 1, personal best sector 2. What can we do here in the final part of the lap? A lot of wheel spin on exit. We don't need these tyres either. But look, they're only 14% worn. So we really haven't abused them that much throughout this race. Now, final chicane, Wall of Champions. Do we end up in it? No, we don't. Thank you very much for the foreshadowing. It was absolutely incorrect. We come home for P1 and fastest lap by like a 10th or something.
Fantastic
But
drive. That's just fantastic. Amazing.
fantastic drive indeed. P9 to P1 around Canada. That's nicely achieved, and strategy worked.
A truly magnificent drive and a great performance from the entire team to secure victory here in Canada.
Yeah, it was worked out really nicely.
Wow, that's 3 wins in a row. They really are on a roll now and really building great momentum. They're clearly one to look out for.
Wow, thank you very much. I'm happy to use and abuse the AI's racecraft.
Well, what a thrilling end to an incredible Grand Prix weekend. Our top 3 finishers should be incredibly happy with what they were able to achieve out there today.
I mean, I think realistically for me, all of the racing was finished around lap 14, I think it was. the last half of the race, I completely cut it from the video because it didn't need to be there. All the racing happened at the start to get us off the line, get us up some positions, get us into P2. And then it all happened at the pit stops. And then it was the overtake on Verstappen that compromised him, put him into the claws of Alonso and away from me.
After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
Thank you, Crofty. So here's the little rundown. Obviously ourselves in first, and then a best fastest lap of 1:10.7. Followed by Fernando Alonso, Verstappen, Perez, Sainz, Norris, Leclerc, Russell, Stroll, Ocon, Hauger, Piastri, Ricciardo, Hamilton, Magnussen, Tsunoda, Pierre Gasly in P17, followed by Albon, Zhou Guanyu, Sargent, Pourchaire, and Nico Hülkenberg, who DNF'd. That actually gives us, that result gives us the Drivers' Championship lead over Charles Leclerc by 9 points only, but 1 point's enough to win the championship. So we're good on that front. Pierre Gasly needs to start performing though. He's not doing well for his own championship, but also for the constructors. We are in third. We're 52 points behind Ferrari. So we really need a teammate that can perform at a level that at least provides some points in the pocket of the team and takes those points away from other teams, because yeah, it's just crazy. I have cash in the bank, by the way, and as I've mentioned before, we have someone on our watch. Let's see in the next couple of races whether we acquire a new teammate. It was a very brave move by us at the start of the race, but it worked. We pulled it off. And yeah, again, insane start to the race. Capitalized on everything, even some absolute sends. I think there was 1 or 2, maybe 3 in this race that, yeah, I think it kind of shows that I'm more comfortable on the brakes than the AI at this point. I think, it's also the setup, I think. It just really lends itself to late sends and just absolutely diving on the brakes. Because even in those moments when we were, kissing the rear end of famous people, it was simply because I just had too much speed, like mid-corner speed, which is because of my wings, but also because of the brakes. Like, I was so much later on the brakes, I almost didn't have time to slow down to the speed that the AI were going when they were at that point in the corner, if that all makes sense. But anyway, that's all that. You can continue to watch the highlights if you wish. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week for round 8 and potentially a new teammate.